Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the John Doe Review. My name is Danielle John Doe, obviously. I got this little mic on me, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that we're in a slightly different vibe today. So, big life update. I quit my job. I quit my job and I got a new one that I'm excited about. That's actually going to be one of the main topics we talk about today. But we're in a different vibe today because I'm off all this week, just kind of mentally preparing for my next step. And I'm recording this in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. But yeah, you'll notice that the lighting is different because the sun is actually out. It's not just my little ring light. The cats are active, so if you hear jingling, they're also hyped because I've been home and they're like, why are you still home? This is weird. But I basically took the week off to kind of just prepare for my next step. And yeah, usually I film these episodes after a 9-hour workday and before I eat dinner just to like knock it out. So usually I look a little rough and all the lighting I get are little bedside lamps and this ring light. But today the sun is our guest of the day, and it's only like, what time is it? It's only 1:34, and I ran a bunch of errands. That's why I look like a person right now, like I'm actually dressed and did something with my hair. And then I got home from those errands and I thought, oh my God, I don't have to record the episode at night. I can just do it during the day and then still have the rest of the day. This is amazing. So it'll be a quick episode because, again, the last 2 weeks have been kind of tame. But, hey, new beginnings, right? So for this week's episode, we don't have many topics, kind of similar to last week. But I also don't think I have nearly as much to say because, again, the last 2 weeks have been pretty tame, including this week. But the main topics that we're going to be talking about today are me quitting my job, me getting a new job, work-life balance, seeing the new movie Undertone, which really our main topic there is we're going to talk about theater etiquette, because does it even exist anymore? I don't think so. And then because this is the John Doe Review, I'm going to have to leave a review for the last 2 weeks of my life, and I'm going to rate them out of 5 stars, so you got to stay until the end to figure out what I rated them. All right, let's get into it. First topic. So yes, you heard me correctly. I did quit my current job. I'm not gonna, if you know where I worked, then you knew why I worked. But if you don't, I'm not gonna tell you. Here's the thing about that job. Loved what it stood for. I felt like I was getting stupider every single day. And I don't mean that work isn't meaningful, but just like, I feel like I wasn't really using my brain to the max capacity. And a part of it was because ultimately there were aspects about my job that I just wasn't about. And I just feel like a lot of this is just working to work to say that we worked. And so I decided, you know what? I'm gonna get back into something that I'm actually passionate about. So I am re-stepping back into the music scene. In case you didn't know, my degree is in music education. I have a bachelor's in music, and I did love my first job out of college. It was amazing. I was there for 3 years. But then, priorities change. I'm only 26. Even though that sounds a little old, I'm only 26 and realized, there's things I want to experience. And so I stepped away from that, got into my job that I just quit, was only there for 8 months because pretty quickly I realized, you know what? I can't do mindless work. Some people can just like go to work and do some mindless shit for hours and hours and hours. And then as long as they're getting a check, they're okay. I thought I could be one of those people. But no. I said it before, I felt like my brain was getting dumber and dumber every day because I just wasn't using it. So I need to be in a job where I'm using my brain, but I also don't have to be like fully so emotionally invested. Like I can still make an impact and still be about, my passion, which is music and which is educating. But it's not as personal as like what I was doing before. And so if you hear cat jingling, Flint is currently trying to catch bugs outside the door. Okay, some backstory. My first job was teaching. I taught. And I realized with that job that my whole life was my job, and it was preventing me from living life the way I wanted to, in the sense of like being able to experience things that I wanted, and being able to show up for the people in my life in ways that at the time I couldn't, because that job was so demanding. And I loved teaching. But as I got older, I just realized I want to be able to show up for the people in my life more. I want to be able to do more with my life, in the sense of like, if I want to travel, if I want to move, if I want to do things like that. In that position, I have felt like it kind of locked you in, because you had to show up every single day and fully give everything. And then when you leave, at least in my situation, it was like you don't really have anything left to give. And I felt like my personal life was kind of suffering because of that. So I was like, okay, even though I love this and it is my passion, I don't think it's a good balance for me personally. So I entered my job that I just quit. And so I've had quite a few conversations in regards to, work-life balance and how do you do it and blah, blah, blah. I always think of my career, and I've actually always thought like this, even when I graduated high school and I was, trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with my life, is I always thought of my career as you are selling away the hours of your life for money, literally. Like, hey, I'll give you 8 hours of my life, of my actual lifetime living years, for X amount of money a year or X amount of money an hour. And for me, my main goal has always been, do I feel like I'm getting my life's value, right? Do I feel like I'm being compensated for what I am giving? And for my first job, it was like, yeah, I'm getting compensated. But all of the hours of my life practically are being consumed by this. So I felt like, am I really getting compensated at the end of the day for what I'm giving, which is essentially everything? But then for my last job, it was, yeah, I'm getting compensated, but is that compensation worth the lack of fulfillment and worth the mind-numbing hours of my day? Well, was that worth, feeling unfulfilled and feeling, frankly, really fucking bored for most of the day? And so then I realized, yeah, no, that's not worth it. And so then now in this current job, I'm excited to see what the middle ground of that looks like. I'm anticipating that I'm going to feel way more fulfilled, not only in my job, but also outside of my job as well. Because I feel like my first job, I was fulfilled in my professional setting, but not in my personal setting. And then with this last job, I was fulfilled in my personal setting, but not really fulfilled in my professional setting. And now this job's the perfect middle of that. So if you're somebody who, especially if you're in teaching or anything where you feel like this is all I know and this is all that I'm good at and I can't imagine stepping outside of this, like the idea of getting out seems impossible, it is possible, and you can and will find a median that works for you, right? And if you're somebody who really wants your entire life to be your job and that passion, good for you. Go for that. Stay in that. But if you're somebody like me who realizes like you do have a lot of aspects of your personal life that you want to stay a part of, but it seems like you can't, you have to pick one or the other. No, there are positions out there that can be that balance for you, where you get that passion, you can feel like you're using your brain and your talents and feel really satisfied and fulfilled with the work you're doing. But then you can also go home and still enjoy that aspect of your life as well. You can do it. Take the leap. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be stressful. You're gonna feel like it's literally impossible, but you can do it. And if you want it, you have to jump. And I am so glad I jumped. Okay, so believe in yourself. Rah, rah, rah. I'm really excited. Currently, I'm off. I put my day of notice in for my last job, and I felt really guilty about that. But with how things lined up, it was essentially like, yeah, no, I have to put it in today, or I'm not going to get any buffer time between the jobs. And so I took this week off. I start my new job on Monday. I'm very excited, a little nervous, but a part of me, like stepping out of teaching and going into the second job I got after school, the one that I just quit, that was scarier to me because it was a completely new playing field. Like, I've done music practically my whole life. And so stepping out of that was like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm expecting. Going from that job to now my third job after school, which I start next week, I'm not really feeling nerves. A part of me almost feels like I'm coming back home in a sense where, okay, these are things that I've, done for over a decade and thought about for over a decade. And so now I'm just stepping back into that world and I got to dust myself off a little bit, but it hasn't even been a full year. So I'm excited. And all I have to say is, people, if you want change, you have to look for it. You have to go for it and you got to jump. It's scary, but it'll be worth it. Well, moving on from that, the last topic, I guess, I told you this was going to be a short episode. The last topic I have to talk about is, okay, so me and a bunch of my friends, as well as like Hunter, went to see the new horror movie Undertone. And if you don't know me like that, my favorite genre to watch ever is horror. I have been watching horror movies since I was literally 3 years old. I watched 13 Ghosts. And look, should my parents have let me watch that movie? Looking back on it, no. But I love horror movies. Like, and that love for them started when I was very, very young. And I'm not one of those horror fans where it's like, nothing scares me. I laugh when there's a scary thing that happens, or no. Like, horror movies scare the shit out of me. I'm very much a baby. I'm very much like, I'll cover my face and peep through my fingers. I get really scared by them, but I also think it's really fun at the same time. And so we went to see Undertone, and I was already hyped for this movie, kind of in a negative way, because anything with sound freaks me out. If it's shit playing in reverse, like music talking, it will freak. Like, when I was a child and stuff like that would happen, like, back in the day, they would be like, if you play this song backwards, it tells you to kill yourself. And it'd be like some like pop song, and it'd be like, you hear it right here. And then like the video would play it backwards. Like, that shit used to freak me out as a kid and still does to this day. And so that's the whole point of Undertone, is you go in and it's these podcasters and they get these like weird files and they have to listen to the files. But like at some point, like people start talking backwards. They start playing like little kids, like what are they called? Like the child tunes, lullabies, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And they start playing those backwards and it tells them to lick blood and blah, blah, blah. So the whole movie, I'm practically like, but what sucks is you can cover your eyes, but like you still hear what's going on, and that's the main part that's scaring me. And like, look, I'm not a baby in a sense where I'm gonna cover my eyes and plug my ears, okay? I have standards for myself, but I was very scared. And I think I didn't watch the majority of that movie. Like, and not in the sense of like I'm fully covering my eyes, but for the most part, I was watching maybe like a fifth of what was on the screen because I was looking through my fingers. I had fun. I've seen people say it didn't scare me at all. Good for you. Okay, it scared me. All right. I do think it's a more slower paced horror movie, and I do think a lot of movie watchers these days don't like anything that's slower paced. So, to each his own. I'm not going to yuck your yum, and I don't want you to yuck my yum, but I enjoyed it. I would probably rate it a solid like 6 out of 10. It wasn't average. I would say it was slightly above average, so I'll give it a 6. But like 7 and up would be like, no, like not only was it scary, but the writing and the story and the yada yada. And for this, it was scary, it was interesting, but I wasn't that invested in the characters. Shout out to the director though. What I found really interesting about this movie, you visually only see 2 characters on the screen, which is the protagonist, which is the daughter, and then the mother of her. Everybody else is either like they're off screen, you hear their voice, or it's through like a phone call or these like audio tapes. So there are quite a few characters in the film, but you only ever see 2 of them. So I think the directing was really, really creative in that aspect, and the way they were like positioning these shots where there's nothing scary happening, but the way the camera's set up, you start feeling like this sense of dread. And sometimes something does happen, but most of the time nothing does. So you're just like on your seat or on the edge of your seat for no reason. But yeah, if you like horror movies, go see it. Getting into the main point of seeing Undertone. Theater etiquette does not exist anymore from what I'm witnessing. I am a hardcore moviegoer. I'm a Cinemark member. I'm a part of the members club. Okay, I go see movies like that because I love being in the theater and I love films. Like, I wish I was more into like TV shows like that because they're easier to watch at home, but TV shows are really hard for me to just sit down and watch and finish. A movie, I love the idea of sitting there and just watching the whole thing in one go, right? We go to the movies pretty often because of our membership at this point, right? Because you end up saving money and yada, yada, yada. And so we sit down. This is a horror movie that is solely based around audio and sound design and yada, 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 right? So you would think the average person buying the ticket understands, hey, I'm gonna have to shut up for the next hour and a half, okay? We sit down, kid you not, the second the lights go down, we hear, and like, it's the row beneath us to the right. We just hear like immediately. And it's not like they're trying to be quiet. Like, you know when you can hear quiet laughing? Because look, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. Have I kikied a little in the middle of a movie? Yes, but it's like whispering, and I'm really trying to keep my voice low and high. And oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Right? These are people fully laughing and like talking to each other, like normal volume. Like, yeah, that was crazy. Like in the middle of this horror movie starting. Okay, I'm not gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna see if they lock in. 5 minutes go by, they're still doing it. 10 minutes go by, they're still doing it. Approaching 15, my friend next to me, because she's getting tired of it too, she just hits him with a shh. Okay, I'm thinking, all right, maybe that'll work, right? Maybe that'll get him to shut up in a literal horror movie about sound. You know what happens? And they laugh at the fact that they just got shushed. Okay, now I'm gonna be a bitch. Okay, so I say, okay, I'm gonna give him like 5 more minutes. If they don't wrap this shit up, like when the movie really starts going, I'm just gonna be an asshole. They keep going. So in the middle of them talking, and I apologize to the theater, but like this is something I do and I'll get into that. I lean like forward in my chair and angle towards them and I just go, oh my God, stop talking, please. I just say it just like that. And so then I think they spoke a little bit after that, but then eventually they shut the fuck up as they should. Because what do you mean you're paying money to be here and you don't know how to shut the fuck up for an hour and a half? Why are you at the movies then? Go home. But anyways, so that happened. And then afterwards, my friends and I were joking about it. And one of them was like, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, no, man. Like, if you've been to a movie with me and there's people talking, like, I'm a fucking, like, I will say when it comes to like theater etiquette, like, I'll be a Karen. Like, I will call the fucking staff on you. I have gotten people removed from a theater. I have done the whole, like, they're literally right next to me. And I will literally turn to them and go, hey, can you guys shut up? Like, actually, and they'll be next to me and they'll be like, ooh, okay. And usually though, it'll be younger people, which like, okay, I don't hate kids like that, but also if you're being annoying and I'm spending money, like, please shut the fuck up, like, actually. But this group, after the movie, they got up. These are 2 grown-ass women in like club outfits and they look drunk as fuck. What are you doing here in Undertone? What is happening? Whose idea was to go to the club and then go see a horror movie? What? Because it was a late showing, so I don't know what type of vibe they were on, but it was annoying the shit out of me. And you know what? Shout out them though, because they did shut the hell up. As they should. And heads up, because I've seen people post videos of like these types of scenarios, but they don't say anything, which I understand. You know, some people are a little uncomfortable in situations like that, and also people are crazy, you know. Somebody might shoot you for telling them shut up, okay? So do what you feel comfortable with. But if people talk through an entire movie, at least from my experience, I will literally go to staff afterwards and be like, hey, these people talked throughout the entire movie. I want my money back. And they'll give you a refund. I've only done this like 3 or 4 times, but no, like, especially if it's scenarios where I've gone up to staff and told them and like nothing was done about it, which like in this situation, I had Hunter go tell staff and they didn't come. And then eventually I like literally like yelled at them in the middle of this movie. Mind you, no one like said anything after that. So I was like, hell yeah, because I know there are people here who are annoyed as fuck too. But afterwards, especially if staff don't do anything about it, I'll walk down and be like, excuse me, and these people were being so rude and I didn't even get to enjoy the movie. Run me my money. And they'll give you your freaking $13 back. And look, I get it, it's just $13, but it's the principle. I'm a big movie fan. I'm going to the movies to enjoy a movie in a setting. The whole movie is about sound, and you're gonna be yip-yapping in the corner? Remove them expeditiously. But yeah, after they shut up, it was a good time, you know, and then, you know, you already heard my thoughts on the movie and I was able to actually enjoy it and focus. So if, and you know what, I'll spell it out for you. If it's a public setting, you are watching a movie, you need to shut up. And if you talk, because look, I get it, where people, we might want to discuss something or say a theory or whatever, you need to lower your voice. Lower your voice. Cover and whisper. Whisper. And if you laugh, that's fine, but make it quick. Make it quick. It doesn't need to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes of you being obnoxious, okay? Let's bring back movie theater etiquette. I'm in. And that's all I have for this episode. I told you guys it would be a pretty short one because last week I didn't do much other than see that movie, and then I got the call for the new job that I'll be starting next week. And then I'm off all this week, so I'm not doing much. I'm running errands. I'm treating myself. I'm you know, refreshing myself for this new position so I could come in with lots of energy and all of the things. And yeah, so I'm just chilling, and I hope you're chilling. So I'm gonna rate the last 2 weeks of my life probably like a 3.8. 3.8 stars because, and it might seem kind of high because like I didn't really do much, but I'm giving it that rating because one, it's the start of something new, right? And also a big win because honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to get this job and I'm really happy I did. And then also I got to hang out with a bunch of my friends and see a horror movie, which is like one of my favorite activities ever. And I was able to do some justice for that theater, okay? And look, not to say I'm Captain Save-A-Ho, but like a lot of the times in situations like that, I assume if I'm annoyed, somebody else is also annoyed, so I'm going to say something. But yeah, 3.8 stars because hey, yay for wins, yay for horror. And I bet next episode's going to be an even higher rating because then I'll actually have, you know, first week on the job or first 2 weeks on the job at that point. But yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely next 2 weeks. I will see you next Sunday. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all of the things. And yeah, that really is it. That was quick. Okay. Well, I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.